Right, Lisa? Welcome everyone to the August Inland Wetlands Watercourse Commission meeting. First, we have an alternate, Steve Biella, seated. Right, Steve, you
Thank you.
here?
Yeah, I'm here. Thank you.
Next, if there's anybody who's not on the agenda, who has anything to say about anything that's not on the agenda, speak. If not, otherwise, we're going to approve the minutes. First of the May 3rd, 2022. Any corrections, additions, deletions for that, for the minutes? If not, can I have a motion to approve the May 3rd minutes as is? Can I have a second?
A second.
All in favor? Aye.
All right.
Thank you, Steve. Next, we have the approval of July 5th, 2022 meeting. Again, any deletions, corrections, additions to the minutes? If not, can I have a motion to accept?
Motion to accept the minutes of July 15th.
Can I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you, Steve. Next is, I'd like to have a motion to open a public hearing for application 22-07 WF, proposed by the town of Berlin Public Works Department to construct drainage improvements within both the regulated wetlands and flood hazard zone adjacent to 85 Meadow Lane. Can I have a motion to open the public hearing?
Commissioner Rogan will make the motion to open the public hearing on application.
Have a second? All in favor?
All right.
Where's break see her, and they can see also.
To the min,
What's that?
to the min more than anything, but you won't be able to.
Yeah.
So, good evening. For the record, my name is Jim Cassidy, professional engineer for the school firm house in Kingston, Cassidy, located at 613 Main Street. Here tonight representing Berlin Public Works, a project, drainage improvement project on Meadow Lane, here in Berlin. In the set of plans that was submitted, the first page is an existing condition survey, which I have up here. The area that we are looking at actually ranges along Meadow Lane. It's actually between 125 Meadow Lane on the north up to 85 Meadow Lane. Off on the west or to the left on this page, Culture Brook. There's a culvert, Culture Brook is carried under. And then off to the east or to the right on this page, there's a drainage system that comes down along Meadow Lane, comes through some backyards through a 36-inch pipe. There's a 36-inch existing culvert that comes down to the north side of Meadow Lane into a series of double catch basins. From there, it goes into the twin 15 by 36-inch squash pipe to get across the road. It comes to another set of catch basins, follows down along the south side of Meadow Road and discharges on the south side of Meadow Road, continuing on to Belcher Brook, and then goes underneath the culvert. What the town is experiencing during big rain events or longer periods of time, Creek comes down the 36-inch line. It's a 15-inch line, floods up. Backs us up so bad, the water comes out of the structure and actually starts flooding through the yards and then down the lake. They asked us to take a look at a solution to fix the problem. We went through several different scenarios. The easiest solution seems to be one of just replace the culvert that goes across the road. You'll notice on this plan there's two orange lines. Those are two gas lines. There's a 12-inch steel gas line and an 8-inch plastic gas line that runs through there. There's the 12-inch water main that's running through here, and there's also the same sewer. What we did is we went through the whole design and review process, and we built a series of sections through that pipe. The red lines represent the new 36-inch pipe, the new 36-inch culvert across the road. This is the 12-inch gas line. So this is a 12-inch water line. I'd be sitting right on top of the sanitary sewer line. So I don't have enough room to do That's why there's existing splash pipe on. We tried different locations. We tried up the road, we tried down the road. Anywhere we seemed to try, we ran into the same scenario. The pipe's always going through that hole to make it work. We did go out, we did several test pits along the line, exposed it, verified all the elevations, we know exactly what it is. It shouldn't, it's no way. So what we did is came up with the idea. I was running a second down the north side of the road. What we'd be looking to do is on the existing line, we'd be dropping a new structure, a new manhole. Coming out of that with a 36-inch line to another manhole, come down along the north side of Meadow Lane in front of the existing houses. There's an existing set of catch basins in this location. It's out of that catch basin into the we'd stick a new manhole here. We'd intercept the 15-inch line and then replace the existing 15 with a new 36-inch line. So it'd be continuous 36-inch line that runs all the way down the north side. We would propose to leave the existing pipe in place also as a backup, just in case there's no casting. But the sizing of the pipe would all be the same. The water technically is going to the exact same places. It's just we're having going to the north side, it's going to be going to the south side. But ultimately, with outfall to the exact same spot, there is an existing outfall there right now. In your set of plans, there was a blow up of this. This is a 10-scale blow up. This is the arch culvert that goes across Meadow Lane. So again, there's a 15-inch pipe that we replaced. We put a new flared end, a 36-inch flared end on it. We did have the wetlands in this area delineated. Virtually services delineated. I'll get up in a second and talk about it. But the idea for the construction of this is that when you take a look at this area, it's actually on Meadow. So what we do is we actually have to put a temporary stone berm, a riprap berm across the road, just to make sure we were getting the sediment down the road. We can start at the outlet. We can get this first section and reconnect with the 15-inch pipe. We can work up the roadway all the way to the top, and eventually intersect the existing line. And then again, once we drop that on that new line, then we can come in place. Therefore, fixing the existing problems. What does this mean? It means we have some activities in the area. There is a 50-foot area for wetlands. We're doing the grading, some clearing of trees to accommodate the new outlet. We're looking at about 975 square feet. I do technically need to split because I need to put a temporary berm across here to make sure I don't have any sediment going down the brook. From the location of the existing end of the culvert to where we're proposing to put the berm, we're looking at about 180 square feet. The idea would be once we're done with that berm, we would pull the brick back. It's not that far out, so it's 10 feet off the face of the culvert. We'd pull it back and we'd use those brick back around the end of the structure. Then reseed the area of the structure and go back to its natural state. Again, we've been on this unfortunately for a couple of years, and we feel that this is probably the best solution for all kinds of events. Maybe a problem with the street. George?
Good evening, George Logan for the record, ecological services, registered soil scientist, professional wetland scientist. Yes, this goes back quite a ways. So we did our initial wetland delineations in September 2008. I did produce a report, which you probably have in the packet. In the back of the report, we have my standard on-site soil vegetation wetland delineation report, inventory form, telling you what's there. Then I came back this past June. Since then, we were going to come before this commission, and I needed some fresh eyes and fresh information. So we inventoried again, make sure we didn't miss anything. It's a nice brook. Obviously, this is Belgian brook. It's running a water course. It is actually a wild growing trout fishery, which is something that is of concern, so we need to get in as quickly as we can. It's a cold water, warm water fishery with trout in there. Of course, the whole slew. Actually, the DEP has done both macro and bird fishery excavations along this stretch of the brook. In the past, Washington was in 2017, so that's pretty recent data. The brook is one resource, obviously, but here we have a sort of a seepage wetland that comes off here. It's very wet, very thick, not touching that, obviously. Most of the work is going on here. Jim talked about the permanent impact, which is permanent and non-permanent, I guess, in the sense that there's something there now, there will be something there later, and the brook will still function as it is today, so that shouldn't be any more of an issue. Obviously, there's a little bit of a, if you went out there, you'd see that there's almost like a little dam that's been formed there, which is bedrock. So that is not an issue with fish. It's not very, or this high, so this can accommodate that. So all said and done, you know, as I'm looking at this and realizing what the issue has been here for a while, you can almost say that this is going to be a net benefit because what's going on here and the fact that we're going to reform some riprap there, which is not very obvious right now, and so there's the potential for erosion just down the street, particularly on this side. And so with the extra riprap, that's going to be. So again, there's not much else for me to say except this is not a substantial adverse impact to the resource, especially the questions that we want to
Is there a start date for this?
No, at this point in time, no.
No.
We would love to get started this fall, but I don't see that.
I'm just wondering, I mean, with the weather we've been having, I know that it's not really running at high levels right now.
The beauty of this, again, is that you start the project, you put it in the first section. This is not a lot.
Oh, okay.
It's small sections, and then you can always just, as weather permits,
Is the pipe in the road or is it in right away?
it's like on the end.
Okay.
It's not an issue. So again, it was amazing when the utilities were actually.
I know.
So, we found an extra gas
That's a high pressure.
line. That's just high pressure gas line.
This is just a, it's like a bypass, that everything existing is staying, you're just adding.
They're adding a beer pipe, so. It's not fun.
At 36 inch.
What's that?
You know, to 36.
36, it's a 36 feet into it. And then it goes out to 36 inch wash, that's where it backs up.
So you can add an additional 36.
So originally, for the commission's benefit, the only thing that was there was the squash pipe back 30, 40 years ago. It was just a cross culvert. And then over time, pieces were added, you know, through backyards and along the south side of the lane.
But that's gonna stay and it's gonna be functional.
This is a really place, so it's gonna be.
Right. But you say it's to be more of a backup than the actual,
Yeah, I mean, the intent is that the new 36 inch will be.
okay.
So for the time being, this thing plugged up, they're physically going in. So what will happen once the bypass is, so we're still checking to see what's going
We will check, but it should alleviate the majority of our concerns.
on?
I mean, our highway folks, before any major storm will go out, check it before, see if there's any debris, clean it up. Yeah, it's a headache.
So you don't put debris racks upstream or anything like that?
The problem you have is there are backyards and out of sight on
This is the lower end of the system that runs up between Peter Parley and Holly Court, where we mentioned the Quigley's application. Debris would get into the stream with what they
I don't, not that I wanna open any can of worms like this, but is this gonna help?
it's going to help the person.
Okay, but as far as Holly Court, it's really not,
there's
has
no
an effect.
where we just talked about.
Yeah.
And you pick up
Right.
stay that way.
Right, okay,
Yeah,
I you know,
yeah, we're,
Because it would be nice to say to people in Holly Court, we're trying to fix this, what we're doing, but yeah, it's not having any effect on it. Any other questions? Steve, any questions? I know you can't see what's going on, but any questions?
No, I got nothing right now, thank you.
If not, Jim, you have,
Nothing. Jim did a great job in explaining, what our
yeah,
concerns are, and hopefully this will alleviate that problem.
so there's no other questions, we don't have to continue the public hearing unless you guys want to do any more investigation. Other than we can close the public hearing and take action tonight.
We have not received any comments from the public as a result of the
Right.
the legal notices being placed in the newspaper. So
And,
I would recommend that unless the commission has any concerns. Close it.
So if no other questions, no other comments for the applicant, I'd like to have a motion to close application 22-07.
Commissioner Logan will close public hearing.
Can I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? And now, you want to take action, we can approve the project?
Certainly can at this point.
Commissioner Logan will make a motion to approve the application.
Have a second?
Second.
All in favor? All right. Thank you, Steve. Next, public hearing for application 22-08WF, proposed by the Town of Berlin Public Works Department to perform regulated activities in conjunction with Edgewood Road Bridge over John Hall Brook replacement project.
Mr. Logan will be using himself.
Can I have a motion to open the application 22-0WF?
Application
08, sorry. Can I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Yep.
Aye. Up for the town?
All right. This is for the, I'm Eric Jarbo, AI Engineers, representing the Department of Public Works, the bridge replacement project. Edgewood Road over John Hall Brook. There's 3 crossings right in that area, so I'll just kind of explain. This is the town of Berlin, so it's in that southwest corner. You can see there's 3 crossings, of John Hall Brook and Edgewood Road. It is the middle one. It's actually right by the gas line. I have another aerial photo view. If you're familiar with the area, there's a pull-off for parking right by the gas line, and then people, they go up and walk the reservoir property. So it's that structure right there. The purpose and need of the project is to replace the existing, it's a 3-sided structure. It was originally built in 1920. Was reconstructed in 1960. They added on and actually made it a little bit wider, even though it's still on less than 20 feet wide. It's structurally inadequate. It's seen better days. It's deteriorating, and it's operationally deficient because of that width. And there was some handrails on both sides that were not crash-worthy for vehicles, but those are long gone now too. The proposed structure is a precast rigid frame. It's an open bottom on precast footings and precast wing walls with intermediate riprap slope protection. Everything is precast to speed up the process of the actual construction. This is an existing elevation view. I put that in kind of as a reference for the next slide. This is the upstream elevation view. So you can see in the center here, this is the existing substructure of the existing structure that we actually plan to leave in place. Part of that is due to facilitate water handling. We could just sandbag up to this and use this to channelize the flow through the middle. And then also leaving it in place permanently, it provides scour protection for our new structure, which is a benefit. And two, it's just less disruptive to the wetlands. If there's no need to dig all that out, then there's really no point to, disturbing all that extra wetland. We would have, we're gonna have natural stream bed material on the backside filling in. That'll create like a shelf area that provides like riparian crossing or critter crossing, for reptiles or, turtles or whatever, if they so choose to use it, not just cross the roadway. There it is. I think that's pretty much everything I wanted to point out on that. This is a color plan view. Shows the actual water course is in dark blue. The lighter blue is the shaded wetland area. The dark gray will be all bituminous pavement. That's new, that's gonna be replaced. You can see that what we're gonna pave, the new box is a lot wider. It's actually almost 30 feet. We're gonna have an extra 10 feet on that is the west side, because that'll act, right now pedestrians, they park on the north side, which is to the right of this page. They park there and then they cross the bridge structure on the roadway in the travel lane, and they get access to that driveway, and they walk up into the reservoir property. So this will give, it does really two things. One, it provides extra width in case someday the roadway gets widened, that can happen. And two, it provides a safe place for people to walk that's not in the travel lane. We're not paving all of that because that would give like a false sense to a driver that the roadway's wide. They might actually start to drift out and utilize that, and then only to find that it immediately abruptly cuts back and then it's a narrow road again. So, but we are going to pave on top of the box because there's no fill, no ballast, no fill material between the concrete box and the roadway. We're paving right on the box. So that pavement will help protect the waterproof membrane and protect the box culvert over the long term. So.
Can you go back to the prior slide? So I'm gonna ask the dumb question. This shows the wider new box, correct? You're kind of
Yes.
showing the old configuration with the new one kind of laid on top, so that light gray, that's the new precast.
That's all new, yes.
And it was really just that narrower part in the middle.
Yes, before it was just this, yep.
Right, yeah.
And we had to go, so, we went a lot wider just to straddle over the old one. It obviously provides a lot more hydraulic capacity that way.
So you're going, so it's a bigger dimension along the roadway as well as along the stream, which you showed in the next plan view.
That's correct.
I just want to make sure I'm with you.
Yep.
Thank you.
Problem. We propose a detour. I know this is a wetland meeting, but we have a detour plan as part of the, to facilitate construction with all the precast that was part of it. That's in conjunction with all the precast. It should go pretty quickly. The town was possibly entertaining, maybe constructing themselves with maybe, subbing some of the work out. However, that may not happen, it may not go that way. That's still up in the air, but regardless, I think, we would probably, the proposed detour, we would let people know that it, could be 2 or 3 weeks, whatever we decide when we talk with the contractor. But in reality, I've seen a bridge like this get done in a weekend. So if they're really motivated to move, certainly a week is not a problem to get something like this done. It's pretty straightforward, all precast. It's like building blocks, you just drop them all in place. The 100-year floodplain, we have a net cut of just over 18 cubic yards. We're removing a lot of the material from inside, the box. So there's a net cut in the floodplain, in the 100-year floodplain. The wetland watercourse impacts, 358 square feet, and watercourse 611 square feet. And then almost 4,000 square feet in the upland review area. That's all the auxiliary, the guide rail, and everything else that we're putting in. Obviously, all the practices follow, we'll have erosion control, sedimentation control, we'll use wetland seeding mix to restore and follow best management practices for water quality. That's all I've got.
I've been out there, I've ridden out there, I've driven out there. I don't even know where this brook is. I never even heard of the John Paul, whatever it is.
It's immediately downstream of Helmer Reservoir.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Okay,
You know where the Helmer Club
Yeah.
is? It's a little shack in the woods there.
yep, okay.
I got that picture, I guess. I do have more pictures, if you care to see.
I've ridden my bike out there 100
Really?
times, and I don't
You
know
were
where
going
it's.
too fast.
I guess so, I guess so.
Yeah, this is the driveway for the,
It's actually for Algonquin, I think, for their gas transmission line.
oh, really?
Yeah. they're right
Oh,
there.
because I thought it went, I walked up and I thought it went to the reservoir too.
It's a combination.
Oh, okay, maybe it does both. The gas line cuts, right through here. So as you're going along, you obviously can see that, it's wide open, and then, this is one of the 3 crossings. It took me, I put a little bit of extra effort in to make sure that we designed the correct bridge. We didn't design one of the other ones, and, I know they would probably say, all right, well, we'll take that one too.
Now, this is a precast, you said, how many pieces does it come in?
It depends on crane size. When the contractor places the order for the precast structures, they'll ask how big they want it, and that's the way to save on the weight, is to make the section smaller. So if they're going to use a crane, then obviously you get a lot more pick capacity and less picks. But I would say a small crane would make sense. So it'll probably be about maybe 4 or 5 feet sections.
Sure, more pieces is what's gonna be the cause the lengthier.
It's pretty straightforward once they get it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They do go, they go fast. They, once they get, and I think the water handling, using the existing structure is gonna help a lot, because we really don't even need to drive sheets, or shouldn't need to drive sheets. So it should be just rip everything out, set in and the precast footings are actually, it's almost like a concrete block. It has voids, and they do pour inside the voids to fill in, and that saves a lot of weight, but it's basically concrete formwork.
it's like a Bigfoot kind of.
Yeah, you just drop it in
Drop it
and
in,
fill it with
okay.
concrete, and then they could just, and they don't even have to, pretty sure they don't have to wait to set the units on top, because there is already strong precast that's already cured, so we don't even have to wait strength.
Can you describe the wetlands impact in a little more detail?
Sure. So maybe one of the pictures, well, I can start here, that obviously this whole area will be excavated. So right now, this is all dry on both sides, but, there's, the whole excavation within and then it's all about reconstructing, because the banks are in rough shape. There's some erosion, there's some exposed tree roots. So all along the banks, within the right of way, there will be reconstruction of those banks, and riprap will be put in. Natural stream bed material will be put on top of the riprap, within below the ordinary high water so that it, provides it's a little nicer for fish. So most of the wetland impact really it happens at on those four corners. And I could change to maybe just that other picture even. So you could see this structure will stay and our new one's going to be way out here. So this will all be excavated
But
and
that
reestablished.
top part,
That'll be gone.
now, is there anything you can do to protect any concrete or anything from falling into the brook?
When you look at the height of what's actually there,
It's nothing?
Yeah, I mean, normally I would say, yeah, we could, build like a deck, or
Right,
put
yeah.
something like netting but this, I don't even know if I could crawl through, it's
Oh,
like.
really? Okay.
Yeah, and depends on, obviously during lower flow, it's all right,
Right.
but you're only looking at
Oh, okay.
very, very minimal height. They could, trying to think of another.
Is that a solid structure going across? Is it?
So I believe that the way this was constructed, and it's in two different, it's like two different halves.
Yeah.
One half is precast walls, the other one is masonry walls. And then this is a cast slab. Don't think it's actually connected or anchored. It's definitely not a three-sided frame where it's rigid. And that's what the new one will be, is like one complete rigid structure. Yeah, so this is just placed on top of those
One thing
abutments.
to pick that up at one, or is it too big? Yeah, that's what I'm wondering. They could pick it up in one piece, you wouldn't have any.
Oh, that would be great, yeah. Yeah, we could probably work some language into the contracts, saying, care needs to be taken to keep debris from, falling in. And if anything does, they could go in and clean it up.
Instead of coming in with a jackhammer or whatever, smash it
Yeah.
up and they can pick it up. They can
And let it fall
scratch
into the
worst
street.
case with a larger machine,
Right.
excavator, they can probably just pick it up, drag it off.
Slide it
off.
A portion of it drops in, and it's just.
Right.
Any impact to the stream is gonna be.
Right, I didn't know, I mean, I'm looking at it, my depth is, I'm like, oh, is that 6 feet?
No,
It's probably
no, that's.
2.5 feet. maybe
Close
at
up,
most.
yeah, maybe not even.
It does look like it needs to be done.
Yeah, and right now there's no, there was never really any actual guide railing on it. No one's, I looked at it, no one's ever left the roadway.
There was an old galvanizing
Right.
around pipes like you use on the
Yep.
stairway.
Yeah, which are actually way worse because they're spearing hazards. Yeah. And there was a utility pole that was right next to the structure. However, they just came through and reset new poles, so they moved it away a good 15, 20 feet, so it's out of the way.
Again, my next question would be, is this something that's gonna be done?
You won't see it. This is just part of the process of putting all the ducks in a row for the fun.
Okay. Anybody else, any other questions? Okay. No? Steve, any questions?
No, I'm good, thank you.
Could you see all that, Steve?
Part of it.
If not, I'd like to have a motion to close application 22-08 WF.
Make a motion to close the public hearing for application 22-08.
Can I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
All right,
Now, if there are no problems, no questions, we can either approve or not. If you want to approve it, I'd like to have a motion to approve application 22-08 WF.
Make a motion to approve application 22-08 WF.
Have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
all right.
Good to go.
All right. Trying to get you back.
All right. Now, the regular meeting. Next up is application 22-05 WF, proposed by the Town of Berlin Public Works Department to perform regulated activities in conjunction with the Kingston Road Bridge Replacement Project.
Mr. Chairman, if you recall, there was a public hearing that was opened and closed in our last meeting
Yep.
regarding this project. We have not received any complaints, concerns, questions from the public either during the hearing itself or following the hearing or prior to the hearing with all the advertising. So at this point in time, the Public Works Department requested the commission to take action.
This is something that definitely needs, this.
Yes, yes. This one is in the pipeline.
Yeah. Is there no other questions or comments for Jim? I'd like to have a motion to approve application 22-05 WF.
Commissioner Rogan will make a motion to approve application 22-05.
Have a second.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
All right,
All right. Next up is application 22-06 WF, proposal by Stancan Polymers Incorporated to construct an accessory structure building within an upland review area on 401 Brown Street.
I don't know, Mr. Chairman, if anyone is here this evening representing. There's-
I don't know how you got the.
Stephen Benjamin,
I don't.
environmental, on behalf of the Stancan. I gave a brief presentation on the project
Can you
last.
guys give me
Sorry.
half a second? I'm sorry. I'm just not. So if,
they're-
You wanted to stop sharing. I don't know if, maybe it's not sharing anymore.
show. This,
Yeah, okay. I'm sure it is.
that meeting.
Yeah.
It's so tiny, I can't see what that is.
Yeah.
Steve's there.
Next to me.
That will stop the camera.
Anybody else have any recommendations?
What's that?
I mean, it's definitely there. It's just that it's a little bit smaller. Steve, do you still see the screen? Do you see the desktop?
yeah, I could see it fine.
I just don't understand why it's so little.
Yeah, that's. Yeah. No,
Maybe just drag it out.
Maximize the screen.
yeah.
Yeah, there you
No,
go.
it's fine. So there's good enough church yards.
Yeah. All right. Thank you.
There's a church yard. This one, it's a church yard. That's just- that was him.
Not that you have the buttons up here, right? Like the minimize screens. Do it from there.
The
Options.
blue one?
Yeah, well, that's the blue one you're selected on. There's other options as far as viewing the screen now.
But it doesn't do anything when I click on it.
No, click on a different one. It'll show a different view. Click on that one.
You know, it's-
Click on the one next to that.
But he's in the old St. James.
Yeah, see how it's changing the view. I think that's what we want to see is that. So you have the best one.
St. James.
Yeah, that's the best one.
That's good enough.
Sorry about
Do I have to start from the beginning, Lisa?
I don't know where you were.
What, announcing the application?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Right now, we're going to hear from application 22-06 WF, proposal by Stan Ken Conley Marriage Incorporated to construct an accessory structure building within an upland review area on 401 Berlin Street.
Evening, my name is Stephen Benben, I was with Craig Environmental, here on behalf of Stan Cam Polymers. I gave a presentation on the application last week. I just wanted to come back and if there were any questions after you get a chance to review the application, the drawings, commission members had any questions. I don't want to go through the full presentation again, but if there were questions, I just wanted to be available if anyone had any.
I looked through, I didn't see any problems with it. Yeah,
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
yeah.
I think we covered it.
Jim, do you have any?
No, no, not at this point. If you recall, the activity that's being proposed is in the upland review area. The area to the rear of the proposed structure, the applicant is planning to install buffer plantings between the back of the building and the actual wetland. It's not a very high quality wetland material to begin with. If anything, the planting of the buffer will certainly help to maintain.
Right, it's going to be a trailer, storage facility.
Everything.
From outside into a enclosed structure.
There's no office, no bathroom, or nothing, right?
Right, there's no water.
It's just a structure.
Just a structure, it'll be heated by steam. I think last meeting I spoke, I said by electric. We'll actually use steam for heat, and just big wall packs, interior lighting. No offices, no bathrooms, no water service.
So if there's no other questions or comments for the gentleman, I'd like to make a motion to either approve or deny application 22-06 WF. Can I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right,
Very good, thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
We technically, Commissioner Roman technically say he was back after Edgewood Road
Right.
application.
I believe he did, I thought I heard.
Yes.
I'm pretty sure I heard it.
Yes. Next up is application 22-09 WF, proposal by Kevin Colstan to construct a truck leasing facility within both an upland review area and a flood hazard zone on lot 8328 1A Block 3, Webster Square Plaza.
Good evening. For the record, Kevin Johnson, landscape architect with the engineering firm Close Jensen Miller. With me this evening is the applicant, Mr. Colstead, and Chris Video, professional engineer, also Close Jensen Miller. So just a quick orientation with the site plan. This is Webster Square Shopping Plaza. Building is right here. We have Woodlawn Road to the left and Webster Square Road to the bottom. This is an overall site survey, so this is just to orient you where the proposed activity is. It's basically right where the two wings of the building come together at that angle point. And this is a more detailed survey of that area. Again, the angle point in Webster Square would be to the bottom with one, actually to the right. So on this map, the blue represents the limit of inland wetlands from town of Berlin GIS mapping. The green would be the 50-foot upland review area. The orange is the limit of the 100-year floodplain. The pink is the limit of the floodway. This light brown shading here, that represents the existing building edge to the south. This whole area here is basically the slab, what used to be, building. This area in here is proposed activity where the trucks will actually be stored. These dark lines here represent foundation walls of the previous building. And these heavy black lines, they represent the limit of the existing bituminous pavement. So in terms of the proposal, shifting to the grading utility plan, again, same color coding, blue for wetland, upland review, floodplain, floodway. What the applicant is proposing to do, this portion that is shown as shading, that's the building, existing building. The front portion of that, the interior will be basically rehab for an office space. The rear portion will be a truck wash bay facility. Access to be provided from the rear. There is some mechanical equipment on site today which will be removed to facilitate entry into that portion of the building. There'll be a trench drain. The floor will be graded so everything flows to that trench drain. It'll then pass through an oil water separator and then pass out to the existing sanitary system. In terms of the slab where the trucks are going to be parked themselves, we've basically graded the site from the front to the rear, eliminating those former building walls, so they'll be removed, and that obstruction will actually be removed from the floodway. It's going to be graded to a low point, 2 catch basins, and that storm drainage will pass out to the existing storm drainage system that then flows underneath the building to the rear. In that one catch basin, we'll have an insert system for oil filtration, which can be removed.
So none of that stuff has a roof on it,
Not the truck parking area.
and not the washdown.
The washdown is within the shaded portion of the building.
So that has a roof over it.
That has a roof over it.
That's existing, you said, right?
That's existing.
Okay, yeah.
Right. This shaded area is existing building. The front portion, say the front half, is going to be office.
Yep.
And there'll be an ability to walk out to this graded area. The trucks will be parked out here. Roof over that rear portion. And the trucks will be brought in from the rear to be washed and then brought back out.
And that structure you're referring to, the existing building, that's a very narrow building in itself. It's what, 20, 30 feet wide?
Something like that. About 20 feet. 20 feet. Yeah. 20
For
feet.
those of you that remember years ago with the old food mart, went into the food mart supermarket, just to the right there was a package store.
Right.
That was a separate building that was part of what you're seeing here.
Right.
Size structure these.
It's various sizes. There's pickup trucks, there's box trucks. What's the largest size? About 26. 26.
Yes, I saw you.
26 box trucks.
I saw there were two different parking lots for, on the plan, that said one was for box truck and one was for vans or something like that.
So, before I shift to the erosion plan, I should mention that the way we have this parking area graded, we've created a slight high point here so that where the trucks are parked, everything will drain towards this low point. Any grease or oil that may drip off of those trucks on the pavement flow into that catch basin. And then that high point going to the rear, it is not, impacted by truck parking. So we have, as you can see, no impacts to the wetlands, no impacts to the upland review area. We have no grading beyond the orange, so we have no loss of flood storage. We do have that activity in the floodway. Again, that's not a construction activity per se, it's the removal of those existing foundation walls.
What are you gonna put back after we move? What are you gonna put back there? You're gonna put
It's just gonna be paving.
pavement? So anything beyond that, you're leaving, that's there, anything that's there now, too much is there now, you're leaving?
Correct. Because that's the service drive for the rear of the building.
So the elevation of that truck parking pad is higher, lower than what's there now?
It's,
Yeah, I figured,
yeah, we're basically matching grade, starting at the front where the existing fence is.
Yeah.
There's a PVC fence out there. So we're starting there and grading to the rear, lowering that grade, matching the grade to the rear. So there'll be no more walls. Theoretically, it's just gonna grade
So
down, there'll be a little high point,
You're adding flood capacity.
basically.
By lowering, yeah.
Well, we're not in the floodplain.
But is
So
it
we're not decreasing flood storage, we're not increasing flood storage, we're not within it,
okay.
we're outside of that.
but there's no way for any oil, gas, whatever, to go back.
No, because we created
You're
that little
gonna,
high
you're gonna
point.
just,
Just a little ridge, a little berm right across there.
okay,
So everything, this side of it, everything will get contained into that CL basin. Everything this side goes to the rear.
and it's gonna be responsibility of the truck company to clean out that.
Correct.
So you're gonna regrade and repave.
Correct. We're gonna get rid of the broken concrete slab, take that out, regrade, take all that material out, put a firm base beneath and then pave it. And the limit of the bituminous pavement is basically this limit, what we're proposing. This is a straw wattle to be placed during construction. A log that we staked in place, basically calling for 5 feet of the bituminous to be saw cut, removed, to then have this wattle log staked in place, and the same across the front. So, in a storm event, there'll be no sedimentation going into the parking area or into the rear, and these represent silt stacks in those catch basins.
Now, the parking lot to the right of all that will be the, that's concrete now, is that staying?
That's gonna stay in its existing, our proposed activity goes to that.
Okay,
And then that remaining slab, that's still,
that's just gonna,
that's
you're
not
just
our,
gonna,
that's not our lease area.
you're not doing anything to that?
No,
Oh,
that's gonna stay in its existing.
but you're not gonna use that at all?
That's not the plan right now.
So the fence that goes across the front,
Right,
which is currently vinyl,
right,
represents a red, kind of red line showing
Right.
right there. We're gonna reuse it, run along the side, so technically we couldn't use it for
oh,
parking.
so you're gonna run it along, oh, okay,
And we're gonna put a new fence across the front, replacing that fence, but essentially we couldn't use it because the fence is gonna go right there.
okay.
It's kind of blocking that view right now. But this will continue to block that by moving.
So how many trucks do you plan on parking there? In that?
I think we showed spaces for about 18 various sizes.
Yeah, and that's probably a peak.
Okay,
And our desired goal is to have more rent.
Right. Oh, right.
Yeah, so it's not a, they don't make money if they say it. So
Right.
we don't have that many saying.
would there be chance of those, and again, this is in a water course, but there'd be chance that you parking in the parking lot used by the.
No.
So they're all gonna stay in that?
Correct. Yeah, no, one could return to the front and then we have to move it back.
Right.
But it is the intention, everything would park there.
Just from a security standpoint.
Oh, yeah, right,
I mean, the new neighbors in the bar, so you want to park it back.
right, yeah, exactly.
Where's your current facility now?
Expanded, I mean, closest two facilities, one's in East Hartford, the other's in Waterbury. It's still in
You won't be working on the trucks at all.
Correct.
Wash your seats when you go.
That's correct.
Activity will see.
Yes.
Anybody else? Jim, you have anything with this? I mean,
Nothing at this point, it's more of just going through the motions because some of the activity falls within the
Right.
floodplain. Technically, yes, part of the site is within the upland review area, but there is no activity
right,
taking place there. So from a staff standpoint, I don't see the need for you to follow the statutory requirements, to keep this open for another month.
right,
We're really dealing with the floodplain issues. There are no requirements similar to the wetlands.
And you don't see need for public hearing. So we can approve this.
You could certainly take action on it, if you're comfortable.
Yes. Anybody have any other questions? Steve, do you have any questions or comments for the applicant?
No, I
Okay.
like it.
Okay, if not, I'd like to make a motion to approve application 22-09 WF.
Commissioner Rogan will make the motion to approve application 22-09.
Have a second.
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 All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Jim, ask us for,
It was more of a reminder
Oh.
that there's really no wetlands.
okay, yeah.
I need those things.
Yeah. I don't know. Not around here, I know. Yeah. Not no trucks. Yeah, that's cars. Yeah.
The front portion of what was.
In front of the wash bay. In front of the wash basin office. I'm sure there's gonna be a bathroom there too, but yeah.
I mean, they're kind of in the existing.
Yeah, they are.
Wasn't that a
Woolworth.
No,
No, that was movie theater.
They're taking over the
Movie
was the
theater.
movie theater portion.
Next to it was Woolworths, where they're not using it all. Right. And anybody know what the store all the way down the end used to be?
What's that?
The store down the other end? Tops.
Then railroad salvage.
Railroad-
Mine.
Yeah.
Choo-choo used to show up once in a while.
Yeah.
Let me get these guys.
Yeah. When I was a kid, that was a happy place.
Was it?
Oh, yeah.
Save the best for last.
Woolworths had a,
Tops.
yeah,
Margarine.
and Woolworths had you know, an eating, a little snack bar there.
I do.
This is this one.
Oh, yeah, oh, yeah.
I
guess to set this up.
What was the other?
Good.
Oh, yeah, that was that's what the bar
Yeah.
said, that was.
Yeah, I really, they have more of a.
They do see it.
I was-
Set a plan, but.
Yeah, that's probably right. I guess next.
We love that.
Shall we sit at the table or the chairs over there?
I would just,
The other part, nothing they can.
pull up the chair.
Oh, pool table stayed there.
Yep.
What's that? Right. All right, other business before the commission is application 96-16W Silver Ridge Owners Association request a permit modification.
Good evening. Greg McCracken, I'm the attorney for the Silver Ridge Owners Association. I'm here tonight with Claude LaMontagne, who is the president, and Roger Mathau, who is
Director.
I thought the term might be an officer position too, but, and they're also both on the board. But I think the letter that I sent pretty well described the situation. Back when this place was first being developed in 1996, the developer applied the regulated activities. The application was detailed, the activities were necessary to build the place out. They got the permit in early 1997, proceeded with the development. Everything that was covered by the permit has long since been done. And within the time that was allowed, no issues on that. As I mentioned in the letter, pretty soon after the last house was built, the board set about to try to get a sense of the boundaries of the conservation areas and the recreation areas, both of which were required by the site plan and special permit approvals. And if you need some details, Claude can provide them, but basically a lot of problems and inconsistencies started to arise between the site plan as approved by the Planning and Zoning Commission and what the developer actually built on the site. And it was also discovered that only a small portion of the areas for the conservation easement had actually been conveyed by the developer. And conveyances were very early, and the other ones never happened. And kind of the more the surveyor for the association dug into the situation, we noticed encroachments, we noticed boundaries that were disregarded in the build-out, areas for recreation that were unusable for recreation, and just a lot of issues. So really what the board set out to do was to set this all right. So really our next step, and we thought it was our first step, would be to go to the planning and zoning commission to get an approval to modify the site plan. But thankfully your wetlands officer noticed that we really needed to make a stop here first, but really for a determination that we're not doing anything that's a regulated activity. If you look at the maps from 1996 and you look at the site plan that we submitted, you'll notice that all the boundaries and delineations of the wetlands, the water flows, everything else, nothing's changing. Right. And we're not going to build anything, we're not going to change anything that's on the ground. We just have some boundaries to adjust on maps, starting with the site plan. And eventually, if we can get through the process of approval with the zoning commission, we're optimistic, having spoken with staff and with the corporation council about it, that we can do it. If we can get that approval, then we have to make some changes to the common interest community documents and get the town its easements that were expected all along. So part of this is to get the conservation areas to the town in its name.
Accurately delineated on the site, so that we can file an easement.
Yeah.
Because right now, what the current site plan and the survey show are not always consistent. And it doesn't affect any of the designated areas or other areas beyond it that are supposed to be part of that easement that just don't are not representative of what's been building the rules and what's been maintained in some park areas, tree line, parkways, that kind of thing, that, we're just simply cross-hatched to the property line or to the curb, and that's not the way what the community really is, nor can we ever use that to file an easement. So, the new site plan and the new survey that we've given to Jim and the town planner reflects an actual condition of what's in there. And I think we've done for 3 years trying to clean that up, and hopefully we can say on our application to the zoning commission, then we can move forward with that.
Or if not blessing, at least the determination that there's nothing that really has to be approved, permitted, modified, or.
I mean, it's difficult as anything that they're changing. I'm just wondering, Jim, was there an agreement of how much of conservation area was given to the town?
Yeah, it's shown on this colored coded map.
Right, I got that, but I mean, was it so many square feet?
No, it never was. The site plan that the developer submitted was just all typical.
Okay.
It was proposed, the boundaries really weren't set out in the field. It was just kind of see these lines on the map, no courses and distances, nothing like
It was
that. And no area calculation.
Yeah, there were reference sometimes to conservation area, sometimes a proposed conservation area cross-hatched to the curb.
Yeah.
When there's a sidewalk and a park area and a fence before we get to, I guess, what you might describe as, sensitive land. Wetland, like some of the creeks and stuff that flow through their community, but also up the mountain, all around the perimeter. So some of that is fine in many areas, other areas it's not, and because it's been developed to look like a finished community common area. It wasn't much thought in any of the application for the site plan reviews and edits along the way to accurately depict the common areas, so to speak, open common area.
So the as-bills are different than the plans that were approved.
Not
Before
with
agencies.
respect to any of the inland and wetland.
Well, that's what I was gonna say, but with regard to the wetlands
That's
application,
untouched, that's been untouched for 25 years.
what was approved back then,
Right,
nothing,
right.
Nothing will change.
But the required easement that were noted on the initial approval were never filed.
I wouldn't
but
want
they
to,
were wetlands.
yeah, that wasn't a condition that your commission imposed. It was actually a zoning condition.
Right.
I know people come into your meetings and talk about zoning all the time, and it's not germane. But just to kind of put this into context, there is a numerical requirement in the regulations for how much recreational area it's supposed to have. And the new version will have still more than enough. There is no numerical standard for conservation area. It just says they can require it within their discretion. So they did, but we don't really have a standard as to how much.
That's what I was wondering, if there was a certain amount,
No,
or, but you're saying the recreational, you gotta have a certain amount.
that one actually has a numerical minimum.
And this exceeds what you,
The recreation does, and there's no standard for the conservation areas, but at least now we have a value for how much we're setting aside.
are you doing any work in, see, new recreational areas and your conservation areas? Are you gonna be doing any, you're not gonna be building any structures?
No, there's no building to be done, we just need to get an agreement with the zoning commission as to what should be conservation, what are the limits based on what's been built, and to the extent it doesn't affect inland, wetland, and waterways.
So Jim, they're largely here procedurally,
Correct.
because there was a wetlands permit, and then it comes through again before they can tackle the real issue of planning and zoning.
Correct.
Correct.
So they're-
Right.
And typically, as you know, with any approval of this board grants, we cite specific plan that's presented at that time as being the official record for the activity there. As they had mentioned, things were, let's put it this way, they weren't as accurate as what we have before us today.
But none of those inaccuracies affect wetlands.
Correct.
And, and see, we don't have the original plans, we can't tell whether, anyways, we're depending on you, and you guys will say,
Right.
this is what.
They do exist.
Oh, I'm sure you do.
Yeah.
Yeah, right, and.
We wouldn't want to bore you with them.
Right, exactly, that's what I'm saying, you're okay with
We're
this?
comfortable.
Okay.
This, Claude had mentioned, we've been working together for.
3 years now?
Yeah, 2, 3 years. Put it all
This
together.
is well,
Yeah, good for you for
surveying and
cleaning
everything.
it up.
Yes.
Yes, it did, and that's what took time, the association.
So all of these pin markings are accurate.
Yes, they are.
Yeah, we're getting frequent flyer miles from energy coal.
So what you would be doing is modifying application 96 dash W in accordance with a plan which we will cite the title block for the
Right,
plan.
that's what I was gonna say, I'm gonna need a motion to approve the modifications.
In accordance with the Silver Ridge Owners Association plan dated March 15, 2022. And we'll reference the entire
Right.
title block. So
If nobody has any other questions or comments for the members here, I'd like to make a motion to it. Jim just said,
Well, that's to be so removed, so Commissioner Rogan can acknowledge the fact.
so you wanna make a motion to approve the amendment for application 96-16W. Have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Good luck, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Appreciate your time.
Appreciate
Thanks
your
for
time.
digging into this. It's had a long time
Well,
horizon.
a lot of work for a little bit of time here, right?
We'll get it easy.
Well, it was interesting, I didn't know this was this big.
No, the
I didn't know
town's
this
gonna
was
go
this
as
big.
expected.
I've been by it, I didn't know it went that far back.
This is what Jim told me.
Yeah.
This is a very nice drawing, very accurate.
Yeah, it's certainly a wonderful job.
It's a very nice drawing.
Yeah, it's a nice plan, it really is.
I was hoping the town clerk will accept it in color.
Well, we did it in color, because it's easier to.
Yeah, for us. It's great for you guys, but yeah.
Okay.
All right, well, again, thank you very much for your time and for considering this.
Jim, there are three things that I wanna ask you.
Sure.
One is Sunnington Road.
Yeah.
You heard anything more about that?
No, I have not heard anything.
Yes,
And I
thank
think
you.
have a good night.
Have a good night,
folks.
gentlemen.
I think the way, correct me if I'm wrong, at the last meeting when we discussed it, concerned citizen wrote to the commission citing a number of their concerns. The commission requested that the commission review the correspondence that had been submitted and digest it and comment if you like.
I've driven by there, I see nothing. I see nothing going on. I don't know what anybody else, if anybody's been out there recently, but, I don't know what the person's complaining, if they need to complain about right now. That's my opinion.
Okay, I'm not gonna offer.
No, but I'm saying, you haven't heard anything from the,
I have not heard anything from either the property owner or the concerned citizen.
and do you know, I mean, again, do you know if they contacted, as far as the planting and stuff?
I should take a ride out there. I spoke with them several times late in the spring about doing that. I guess that's what that fashion is. But I'm sure you're gonna see them.
Yes.
So the last thing that happened was the owner laid out a planting plan.
Correct. The owner worked with the Soil Conservation Service, or I should say the Connecticut River Coastal Conservation District, to develop a plan to install some buffer plantings
Right.
within the upland review area.
That's the last correspondence.
That's
And that's where you said, we've gotten that, if we want to comment on it or do anything, then we would, but there's been no input from any other parties
No,
since then.
following that, I believe one of the adjacent neighbors, if you recall, so the last time we were together, it wasn't in July, maybe it was in, July. Maybe in June. A couple years ago, it was a piece of correspondence that was addressed to the commission, that was,
They were drilling.
expressing disappointment with my actions as the wetland allowing certain things.
All right, my next is Tollgate Road.
Tollgate Road. I spoke with Mr. Olson back in July and reminded him that the plantings were to be placed. I didn't get to go back with them.
And the last, Jim, is this
Yes.
lovely letter.
Yes, we received a letter for the commission's benefit. We received in our office two pieces of correspondence. One that was addressed to the Aquifer Protection Agency, which this commission also is charged with overseeing, overseeing, along with a letter to the Inland Wetlands Commission. Both of them had the same letter in them that you see here. The same letter was also sent, I believe, to the mayor's office, along with the planning and zoning office. The letter was postmarked on the 22nd of July. We received it on the 28th, which was Wednesday or Thursday last week. Thursday afternoon. First of all, typically, you see, it's an anonymous letter. Typically, from staff standpoint, we will not, whether it's zoning officer, myself, building official, if anonymous letters come in voicing concerns or complaints, typically they're not even addressed. Knowing what was referenced in this letter, knowing that address, the property lines adjacent to the Mattabesset River, when they're referencing the house numbers 552, 570, 576, 586 Deming Road, those are smaller businesses that are opposite the Deming Road entrance to Home Depot. If you're coming from the turnpike, there's a newer plaza, Deming Road, or the Domino's Pizza is in that plaza. Then there's a series of a couple of small homes, and then kind of what's a ramshackle shop of some sort, and then a brick rectangular building, machine shop. So knowing the location, knowing that the Mattabesset River lies immediately to the rear of these places, when you read the letter, it says that thousands of yards of fill have gone into this area. I have a responsibility whether it's anonymous or not. So I took a ride out Thursday afternoon, drove around what was a former, I think they're still using it for machine building. Drove around the back, and yes, an area it looks like had been cleared. All the ground was barren. There's some piles of metal, a couple of old vehicles were there, like abandoned junk, just junk. I drove around that building. From what I could see, it didn't, I don't know where the thousands of yards of fill were placed, but and there were a couple piles of like brush, so I'm assuming what happened, someone went in and started cleaning up the back portion of the properties. When you looked at the mature trees that were still standing, typically if somebody put thousands of yards of fill in there, the tree trunk is going to be buried. In a number of locations, you could just see the virgin ground right at the base of the trees. So
you're all along behind Home Depot?
Not behind Home Depot. Let's say you're going to come in the side entrance to Home Depot, you're going down the Berlin Turnpike, you take a right. There's a newer gas station that was just opened up. You take that right on Deming Road, and there's a traffic signal. You turn left to go into Home Depot.
Yeah.
Okay, you're really adjacent to, I think it's Imperial Buffet.
Oh, okay.
And there's another strip mall that's part of that plaza out front there. So these buildings are on the right-hand side of Deming Road.
It had a place for the glass man.
The glass man was there.
Pa's place.
Yeah. So I drove around the machine shop, came back out on the street, drove into the two smaller wooden structures, kind of disarray, we'll say. And there's a big pile of metal laying in the driveway, like aluminum flashing, like 20-foot lengths or something. So I pull in, couldn't drive around the back there, saw a fella in a small mini excavator digging a little hole right up against the back of this, which was the residential house. So I just sat there for a minute. I figured he'd seen me. He saw me, he came over, and we started chatting, how you doing? In so many words, I asked him what he was doing. He mentioned to me that he just bought the property, just closed on the property, like, I was there Thursday, he said prior Friday, so less than a week. He said, the owner that was in here knew it was just a mess. They were, before he purchased it, they were hauling dumpster loads of metal, just junk out of the back. A pile of metal that was laying in the driveway, he said, yeah, they just took off with a roll-off container full of aluminum and metal. He had so much in it, half of it, he went up, a little slope to get it, and then it came out the back, and, was laying there. I didn't tell him much about this. I said, we're here, we got a complaint, it was anonymous, I can't tell you who, but, I'm obligated to take a look at what's going on here. I said, did you bring any fill in? He goes, yeah, I brought some fill in. I said, well, how much did you bring in? He said, oh, I don't know, maybe half a dozen truckloads. He said, because I cut down some trees and yanked some big stumps out, and I used the fill that came in to fill in the stump holes, which kind of makes sense.
Sounds logical.
Yeah.
Did all of this in a week?
No, I guess the previous owner was working on stuff. He had purchased what was the Micron, told me he purchased that property a couple of years ago, so he's been working to clean that up. He had just purchased these two parcels.
Side of the street.
Yeah. And I said, did they do any environmental testing before you bought it? And he goes, no. He said, I paid cash for it. So nobody did any testing of the property or anything. God bless them.
Yeah, really.
From what I can see, I think there's more to it than,
I think somebody wanted that property, didn't get it.
Who knows? I mentioned, I talked to him about the stream, the floodplain. Don't bring any more fill in, I said, do you mind if, I'm going to come back next week to the zoning officer if they get involved or something like that. I said, yeah, give me a call. He said, I'll probably be here working away, cleaning more stuff up, So, for what it's worth, I'll have something to report on at the next meeting. I think they basically went through and cleaned out all the junk that was back there. I mean, and this guy was like Sanford and Son.
Right.
You know,
Well,
it was bad.
Jim, between the house that's ready to fall down,
Right,
the glass guy's building and that Paz place,
yeah.
those are just wooden structures. If he was to take those down, he'd have to get a special permit for that.
Oh, yeah, he'd be involved.
Right.
Yeah.
Because those three things probably should definitely come
Yeah.
down.
You know, when I went around the back of the machine shop, you could see where, and it wasn't recent construction, but somebody must have been in there at some point in time, and they rip-wrapped the embankment of the river on their side. Kind of makes sense, you want to stabilize it, whatever happened. I'm not gonna lose any sleep over that, because I can't technically prove who did it, when it was done.
Right.
And just from looking at it, it's been there for a while. So. And to this day, we haven't heard back yet from DEP, Channel 3, Channel 30, or Channel 61. So
Yeah, I was gonna
I didn't
say.
see them parked out here tonight. So.
Yeah.
So Maureen, Juicy, and myself are going to go out, and hopefully tomorrow, take a ride out. And I had mentioned to him, we're coming back. He said, yeah, by all means, give me a call. He said, I want to be here when you get here, I'll show you what I did. And he actually called me yesterday afternoon, you know, when are you coming out, da, 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 da. So it's not like he's trying to run away from me. You know, very cool.
That's good.
So that's that.
Any other correspondence or anything like that?
Any other correspondence? No. Nope.
No? If not, make a motion to adjourn.
Commissioner Rogan will make a motion to adjourn.
Have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
See you next month.
Have a good night, everybody.
Yeah, good night,
Thank
Steve.
you.
Is there gonna be anything for next month? Other than something like this, or?
I think we may be getting an application. I spoke to someone the other day. I don't know. We'll keep it posted.
If we do have one, when would that be? Because it's
Yeah, that's because that's Labor Day.
Labor Day weekend, isn't it?
It'd be the day after Labor Day.
Yeah.
If you want to move it to the following week, we can certainly do that.
Seeing we have nothing.
We have to reference it as a special meeting.
Right.
So we couldn't add anything to the agenda that evening.
I mean, as far as
Oh,
I'm
the only
concerned,
thing I think we're gonna have, got a piece of correspondence yesterday from,
I need to stop recording to the cloud. You adjourned the meeting,
what did you
8:30. I can't believe that this is,
stop it?
I can't find that bar. This is the weirdest thing.
We did adjourn.
yeah, we did adjourn.
Oh,
We did.
yeah, we're gonna be looking, the 550, 554 Berlin Turnpike, that's the housing development behind ABC Supply.
Oh, yeah.
It came before you guys, you
Right.
approved it back in the spring. They've made some modifications to the footprint. They